When it comes to weight loss, no two people are the same. That's why Noom builds personalized plans based on your unique psychology and biology. Take Brittany. After years of unsustainable diets, Noom helped her lose 20 pounds and keep it off.
I was definitely in a yo-yo cycle for years of just losing weight, gaining weight, and it was exhausting.
And Stephanie. She's a former D1 athlete who knew she couldn't outtrain her diet, and she lost 38 pounds.
My relationship to food before Noom was never consistent.
And Evan, he can't stand salads, but he still lost 50 pounds with Noom.
I never really was a salad guy. That's just not who I am. Even through the pickiness, Noom taught me that building better habits builds a healthier lifestyle. I'm not doing this to get to a number. I'm doing this to feel better.
Get your personalized plan today at Noom.com. Real Noom users compensated to provide their story. In 4 weeks, the typical Noom user can expect to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. Individual results may vary.
This is a podcast from Minute Media.
Hashtag no music, no intro. Woo. Ryan and I are still recovering from draft week. We weren't at the draft, but Vegas can wear you out, man. Vegas and traveling can wear you out. The first time that Ryan and I have been to a city where the draft is being held, I don't know about you, man. And I know the Saints will have a first round pick next year, but I'm already kind of looking at Nashville like, and Dr. Lindsay Mitchell said, come on through. I'm just saying, might have to make a trip to Tennessee next year. But before we talk about next year, we got to recap this entire draft for the Saints, and we could talk about some like just teams or NFL things in general that happened in this draft. So before we kind of get into like the breakdown, so we recapped round one on Wednesday, kind of went over all the Saints picks, and we can dive deeper into that. But just to recap, if you've been living under a rock, the Saints in the first round, they traded up from 16 to 11 to draft Chris Olave. Thank God. Pick 19, they stayed pat, and they drafted Trevor Penning. And then they had their second round pick 49 in the second round. They drafted Alontae Taylor, and that's a very controversial pick that we'll get into. And then they didn't have a pick because they traded up for Chris Olave. They gave up the third and fourth round pick, so they didn't have a pick into the fifth round where they drafted DeMarco Jackson, linebacker out of Appalachian State. And then finally, they ended their drafts with drafting Jordan Jackson, sixth round defensive tackle from Air Force, profiles to be more of a kind of a penetrating defensive tackle. Just overall, the Saints draft in totality. What are your thoughts?
Just kind of like, like just like the typical. I typically feel about a Saints draft, like in totality. Usually, sometimes you don't get one player you like. So at least we got that. I got one player I love. In Chris Olave. Penning, I didn't hate Penning, but I was just kind of like, yeah. Then after that, it was just like, that whatever emoji, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Okay. Like, but, spending time looking at some of the players, I didn't look at everybody because, honestly, just in Saints fashion, it's hard to find cut-ups of the dudes they draft. But just doing my research, it meets what they look. It meets what they like. You know what I'm saying? Dudes with meet the athletic scores that they like. They play dudes that play with a lot of attitude. They win all defense after the first round. And
it's all I said. That's enough. Enough fun in games.
Exactly. And we were limited on picks after all the trades and all the moves and stuff. So. It was just a typical Saints draft. I'm not coming away super excited, but I'm not down on the draft or nothing like that. Like what was it, 2020? where I'm just like, what did we do? Like, you know what I'm saying? Or even last year, shit.
Yeah, I mean, I was excited about Paulson Depot, and then after that, I was kind of like meh. And then Pete Warner, a huge surprise. And honestly, the success of last year's draft really hinges on Peyton Turner. If we're honest, if he can be a good to great defensive end, then that's a damn good draft. And if he doesn't hit, then it changes the outcome of that draft very, very quickly. Even if they did get 2 starters from it. Well, with this draft, I felt like, and I tweeted it, but I said that after the first round, like the later picks really felt 2018, 2020-ish to me.
Yeah.
Like they were just like, all right, kind of got our guys, and and I think the player I really want to focus on is Alontae Taylor. Hold up, I'm saying this name right? Alontae Taylor. When he was drafted, okay, the first things that everyone said, and if you looked on Twitter, if you heard like the breakdown of him, everyone was talking about him being a great special teams player.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and I kind of made peace with it. I was like, well, it makes sense because if they're going to play him at safety, then they're kind of feeling a need, right? You know, put him at safety and go from there. But after the draft, I feel like this could be a very Zach Bond type of pick where it's just like, they're like, no, we envision him as a corner. And then I was like, okay, you guys got Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo, Bradley Roby, CD Deuce in the nickel. And I'm maybe forgetting some. I don't know if you really count Quentin Carley or what have you. But you know, he's like the 5th corner on the team right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the issue I have about this pick is if you just looked at it in totality, I'd be very curious to see what their draft board and their cloud is, because you got to tell me with a straight face that Taylor was a better player than Trey McBride, right? Yeah. The tight end 1, like the undisputed tight end in this class. He goes to Arizona, and I'm just like, maybe. What am I seeing that they're not seeing? I give him as a player the benefit of the doubt because typically Jeff Ireland, when it comes to secondary, has hit. There has been a few misses. You know, Latrell Johnson, right? Latrell Johnson.
Yeah.
Who else am I thinking of? Kareem Moore. Like they just didn't work out, right? But they were later round picks. So I give some benefit of the doubt, but part of me just goes into why him? Like I just want like their draft grading and scouting just seems a little off to me sometimes.
It does.
Comparative to like the rest of the league.
Because everything I've read had him as a day 3 guy. Like I really do question like if they didn't draft him, I think they could have got him in day 3, like 5th or 6th round, you know, maybe even undrafted, man. Like seriously. And I know that, you know, and who knows? There's no way I could predict that, but it's like from what I could see in his career, he hasn't done nothing to earn a top. I don't even think he expected to go in.
Right? That's hot 49, bro. Yeah. He went higher than Pete Warner did last year.
That's saying you're a top 50 player. You're a top 50 player. That to me, and I know I haven't watched a ton of them. All I could find was a couple of Tennessee defense versus like other teams.
Yep, that's the same thing I've done, bro. And it's hard.
You're trying to find number 2, and you're like,
yep.
No, that was number 1. It was number 1. That was number 1 making plays. I'm like, well, but then it's like, you know, when I look at him and I read about him, I read, you know, people I respect like Tony Pauline and, you know, other people, you know, he kind of reminds me a little bit of PJ Williams when he was coming out, but also in his look, he kind of reminds me of just the way he plays, of Keenan Lewis a little bit. Like
Mm.
he's not as tall as Keenan, but he has length to him. He has these long arms.
He does.
And I could see him playing being like a boundary corner that has to play a certain way. Like if you remember Keenan Lewis, he would have trouble against like the shifty type of
absolutely
wide receivers and stuff. But if you give him a guy
like a big body
to just run 9 routes or something like that, you stick him on him, he could do his thing. You know what I'm saying? Because he has those long arms. He gets his hands on the ball. It seems like he has really good instincts. Everything I read about him, he's a high IQ type football player. So I do think, them starting with him as a cornerback, I don't think it's a bad idea, but I do think ultimately, he would be kind of like a nickel / safety kind of guy. But the question after that is like, when and where does he play? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like who?
That's what I'm saying, man.
It's like, bro, like you telling me you had no other needs?
None, bro.
You had no other needs where you just gonna take at 49 a developmental CB / DB / safety type? Like, really?
And I just put it into comparison, and I tweet at Nick, our guy Nick on Twitter, Nicholas84 tweeted something, and I quote tweeted it, and I just said, watching this, and I want to say this, right? We kind of said before this draft, if they kind of just gave us one route receiver in the first round, like we'd be content, right? But I think what made it even more egregious is when you get to round 249, there were still George Pickens on the board. There was still Trey McBride on the board. Like there were still, and I look at a team like the Steelers, right? With a perfect example of this in terms of, I mean, we could go back to Mike Wallace, Emmanuel Sanders, Matavis Bryant before he had his issues.
Everybody I like, just receiver.
Chase Claypool. Who else am I forgetting? AB. I know he came late.
Sam Washington.
No, didn't say James Washington.
James Washington.
They just and then even with tight end, right? Pat Fryermuth, right? They drafted him in the second round last year. He was one of the best young tight ends in the game last year. They just reload on weapons, and I feel like, I don't know, like the Saints just feel like archaic. They just want to get just a couple, like just enough, or just enough to get by.
Which is just crazy to me because of what this, like for the last 15 plus years, offense is what they've been known for. You know what I'm saying? The Saints offense. They've been an offensive-led team. Now we know for the last couple of years, it's been a defensive-led team, but it's just crazy to me that they just still want to lean into that. Like they want to be this like a defense heavy team, which is like, I guess that's what you want to do, but like, bro, 2022, like go watch the NFL last year, like go watch the playoffs. Like, yes, you gotta have a defense, like you gotta have a good defense, man, but man, you got to put up points, bro.
Points.
You got to.
Like I keep bringing up the Steelers in just terms of like contrast, right? So just this draft, right? So the Steelers went out and they got the quarterback of the future at 20, and that rarely happens. And we don't know if Kenny Pickett's going to work out or what have you. But let's just hypothetically say he does. He is coming into a situation and a team that has Deontay Johnson, Clay Chasepool in the draft. The Steelers got George Pickens they got George Pickens in the second round. In the fourth round, they got one of the fastest wide receiver prospects in this draft, Calvin Austin. You got Najee Harris from a first round pick last year, and Pat Fryermuth was a second. Like Kenny Pickett is, besides the offensive line being terrible, they got to still do some things to fix the offensive line, which is huge, and I understand that. I'm not trying to understate that. But Kenny Pickett is walking into a situation, bro, where he is not gonna, like, if he fails, it's not gonna be because of talent around him.
Exactly. If he fails, it's because he's not good. You know what I'm saying?
Period.
So, like that's what I'm talking about. So why not do that with Jameis, who we know is, we know what Jameis is. Jameis is a top 15 to 20-ish type quarterback. So why not just give him every opportunity to succeed, man? Don't let him fail. Like, just give him weapons, bro. And I know they did that. Okay, they got Chris Olave. That's great. Like, you can go look at the video. We was celebrating like we won, a
playoff game, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Like we won. You know what I'm saying? We ain't win shit. But we just happy, bro. Like, what's so hard about that? Why don't you bring in a running back or a tight end or something, man? But of course, after the draft, UDFA season, man. They get wide receivers, they get running backs, they get everything.
Tight ends, they get everything.
It's like this team is just so predictable, bro. I want them to surprise me one day.
Right. And I think the point going to Jameis is, unlike any other team in the NFL, when it comes to like getting a quarterback of the future, whether that be trading for a quarterback, that becomes annoyed and disinterested and wants to be traded out of the team they're currently in, or potentially getting a quarterback in next year's draft, although I'm not big on next year's draft class of quarterback or what have you. The Saints have the least amount of assets to get that done, right? Because they traded so many things, right? They don't have a first round next year. They don't have a 2024 or a second rounder in 2024.
Yep.
So in terms of their ability to go and get a potential quarterback, if Jameis doesn't work out, like, they're SOL. So the fact that they drafted a cornerback who at most is going to be cornerback 5 starting the season is very perplexing. Although I'll say this a little bit, and I know people aren't going to want to hear it, but during the season, last season, leading up to free agency, what did we say? Saints weren't going to let Marcus Williams walk. There's no way. No way. He's gone, right?
Yeah.
Trey Hendrickson, it was more 50-50, but I had felt that he had played himself with the flat cap at that time. I felt he had played himself, out of the Saints price range of what they were going to be able to offer him. I kind of saw the Trey Hendrickson one, but they lost Trey Hendrickson. They didn't retain Marcus Williams. I think there's this perception that getting a deal done with CD, like, it's got to happen, right? It's got to happen. CD Deuce, he's lifeblood of the defense. There's no way they let CD walk, right? I'm just saying, bro.
Here's another thing I'm waiting on somebody to talk about, but his contract's going to be interesting because he is a safety. Like, his position is safety, but he predominantly plays as a cornerback.
He's a nickel. He's a nickelback.
Yeah. And
so you would have I would have to look it up, but I think a good basis of where the contract would start is what I believe he plays for the Bengals, what Mike Hilton got from the Bengals. Because he's like a top 3 nickel, top 4 nickel in the league. And I don't remember what that contract was. They signed him, was it 2 years ago? Yeah, they signed him 2 years ago. That would kind of be what I guess the starting point would be for CD's contract. Because the Saints are going to try to pay him like a safety. And CD's going to be like, fuck that. Fuck that.
That's what I'm saying. And it's just going to be interesting. Like, it's going to be a battle because, like, just that label has kept him out of the Pro Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Like, because, when they look at safeties, they're looking at tackles, they look at all this. He's not going to have those numbers. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to have all the interceptions, all the numbers, because he's covering. He's a coverage guy.
Yeah. I just looked up Mike Hilton's contract. He signed a 4-year deal for $24 million for like that. So that's like what? That's obviously very cheap. It's like a lot lower than I thought it was, and I know CD's going to want more than that.
He's going to want more than that, bro.
Easily.
So it's just one of those interesting things, I think, and I do, I see your point where, they could be, filling in some gaps to where, maybe they might need to let CD Deuce go. I would hate it, but, that's part of the game, just like Marcus Williams. So it can happen. Don't think it can't happen. Like Saints fans need to understand, it can happen. Like there's no player that's not untouchable.
None.
None of them.
Absolutely none. Do you have any thoughts? And I'll be honest. I did. First of all, it's almost impossible to find film of these dudes. Were you able to find anything on Marco Jackson or Jordan Jackson?
I was able to find a little on DeMarco. Just a lot of highlights. I couldn't really find like just cut-ups of the snaps, so I couldn't see where he was really vulnerable. But from what I could tell, is he's definitely like an old school.
Yes,
eyes in front, like he's leaning forward. You watch him as a linebacker; he's on his tippy toes, leaning forward, and he coming. So it's exciting to see. Like, I mean, I like it was. If it was like 2001, I'd be excited because that's like the type of player he is. From what I could see, he comes. He it's funny because he does remind me a little bit of Quan Alexander in the way he attacks. Like he attacks those flats with a vengeance. So there's some plus athleticism to him. There's some things to like. It's hard to know with linebackers. Like like me personally, I quit scouting linebackers after Stephon Anthony.
Because he said he was through.
I was through, bro. Like, because I liked him. I tooted my horn for him. He was like 1A and 1B with
Eric Kendricks.
Eric Kendricks. And after that, I was just like, you know what? I can't trust my eyes no more, man. I was just like, I can't trust myself.
Just retire from the game.
Retire from the game, bro. So look, he has some things. He has some tools. Willie's. I doubt he'd be a starter immediately or anything like that. And with linebackers, it's so tough, man, because you can't even get 3 on the field these days.
That's what I'm saying. Two at most.
1 or 2. Yeah, 2 at most, man. So like, he's gonna be maybe a special teams demon, and maybe a guy that comes in on certain snaps, maybe third quarter if you're playing with a lead. Maybe come in for some kind of weird packages, personnel packages they put together. Yeah, down the line, maybe he could fill in. Maybe I could see him as a middle linebacker. I don't think he'll play weak side.
No,
does he have the mental aptitude to be like the guy in the middle, like a Demario Davis? I don't know. But look, Demario Davis was a second, third round pick or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't know. We'll see. And the other player, what's that? The guy from Air Force?
Jordan Jackson.
I couldn't find nothing on him, bro.
Nothing, bro.
That's purely a height, weight, speed, like just going off the numbers and thinking, he could do something. And the thing about the Saints is, bro, they meet some of these players at like the NFLPA game and the Senior Bowl and the East-West Shrine game, and they just fall in love, bro. Mm-hmm. Like I guarantee you, they met Alante Taylor at the Senior Bowl, bro, and just loved him. They said, we want this guy. Like, fuck the tape, all that. They just loved him. And not that they, targeted him or nothing, but however the draft fell, he had a higher grade than, probably, 75% of the league. Whatever they saw at the Senior Bowl, like whatever impression he made on them or whatever, and that's what they do. They do this every year, man. Every year, There's some guy from the Shrine game or something.
Something, bro. Shrine game, NFL game, Senior Bowl.
Akeem Hicks, when he was at the Shrine game and blew him away. Like, oh, he's so athletic and this and that. It's like, bro, y'all just so predictable, bro.
You brought up it being UDFA season, and the Saints brought in, you said it, receivers, tight end, running backs, some defensive backs. They have brought in a slew of players. How much is it?
17 players?
17, man. 17. And man, I said it a little jokingly, but like not super facetiously, in just that, man, some of the UDFA is looking better than some of the players they dropped in the later rounds, bro.
Bro, like when you said, what's the running back name?
Abram Smith, bro.
Abram Smith, when you say he look better than Tony Jones Jr., I concur, motherfucker. I agree. Like the shit I've seen of him, that shit look better than anything Tony Jones Jr. done, bro. Like sign, well, I know he signed, but like start him now. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to see no more.
No
Like,
more, bro.
I don't even care. Like I don't even care. Like I don't even care. Maybe he might not be good, but just get Tony Jones Jr. out my face and see what Abrams can do, man. Because this dude here, I'm not saying he's gonna be like, just like, game changing running back, but man, he got a little juice to him,
He does. And they signed him like pretty much. I don't know if they signed him like to the max that you can sign a UDA.
It was a lot.
It's a lot, bro. It was like 220K, bro.
Nah, Saints really been innovators in that game. Like I remember hearing, I think it was Andrew Brandt years ago talk about it, like how NFL teams kind of look down on other teams that like pay UDFAs like big money and guaranteed money and all that stuff. Kind of like it's breaking like a unofficial rule or something like that. But
I guess kind of like the Browns did, but like on a smaller scale.
Yeah, like with the guaranteed money. Yeah, something like that, like a little unofficial. Like, oh no, we don't want to do that to UDFAs, but Saints be like, fuck all that. Like, we want a guy. We gonna guarantee him a little 200,000 or whatever it is. It's pennies to as far as like the NFL is concerned. You know what I'm saying? So if it takes that to lock up a player, like just do it.
I'm watching Abram Smith right now, bro. He might be RB too.
I'm about to say, bro.
I'm just saying, bro. Man, got some juice too.
Put them in a zone scheme, a gap scheme, boy. Let him. I'm just saying, man. Like it wouldn't shock me. I'm just saying like that. It wouldn't shock me if, come August 15th, we keep hearing about him and he break one off in the preseason game or something like that. So we'll see. It's a long season. But that's one of the, it's just crazy. It's so saintly that we got to get excited about UDFAs, bro. It's just some saint shit, man. Like, I'm so sick of this shit.
It is. You know what's funny? It's always offensive players, bro. Always.
Like, what is it? I think it's the fact that they hit on like people because they always talk about, Pierre Thomas. We took up Pierre Thomas undrafted, and we cut running back. We drafted in the third round. They just holding on to that for so long, and they have been blessed. They have found good players in undrafted free agency or whatever. But man, bro, it's like, do you have to lean on that so much, man?
They lean on it hard too, bro. It's not just Pierre. It's Pierre. It's Chris Ivory. It's who I'm forgetting.
Let's play. Troy Bell.
Yeah.
Kyrie Robinson.
There you go. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, they just have this thing in their mind, and who knows, man? Maybe it'll work, but that's why
Callaway undrafted, Dwan Johnson,
and that's why I was just, and that's why Moore. With the whole Pickens not being drafted, or not Pickens, because I could potentially see why Pickens had a lot of like off the field character shit. Yeah. And I could potentially understand why they didn't want to draft Pickens, bro. But Trey McBride, bro, like you couldn't draft Trey McBride.
That's crazy to me, bro.
Tight end one.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that they passed on him.
They passed on him for Taylor, and I think it was maybe Nick on Twitter just kind of brought up the whole, again bringing up sunken fallacy costs. Right? They drafted Adam Troutman in the third round. They are now converting Taysom Hill, who's a quarterback, making him basically be a full-time tight end. They have Dwan Johnson.
They feel like they're good.
I'm like, Taysom Hill has a fucking Liz Frank injury, bro. Like he may miss.
Taysom has a Liz Frank. Dwan Johnson has been bad. Like he's not been good. Like I don't understand what you're watching. He's not been a good player.
He's been. He's like a jag at this point.
That's what I'm saying. He's a jag. He's like, okay, yeah, he has some athletic traits. He looks good in a football uniform. He's caught a couple touchdowns. That's nice. But what has he shown to where like, I have faith in him being a starting tight end that's going to contribute heavily to my team? I haven't seen that. You know, you can't depend on that. And Troutman, like, come on now, man. Like, come on, like, I get it. Like, you got to develop these players. It takes time.
That's something fallacy to me. That's something fallacy to me, man.
It is, bro.
Because if you draft Trey McBride at 49, you have to admit that you got it wrong, right? That you missed on what was he, a third round pick? Yeah, he was a third round pick that you missed on a third round pick. Well, maybe it was fourth round. I don't remember. But I'm just thinking, we're talking so differently about this draft. If they got Olave at 11, Penning at 19, and I know Penning's a polarizing prospect, but he could be a decent left tackle. Now, will he be great? I don't know about that. Can he be at least decent? I think he could be decent. And then if they would have taken Trey McBride at 49, bro, like the whole entire offense changed. It's the whole entire because then you got
to do it. Then he was like he's a do it all tight end. So
and he's an inline blocker. It's like he's like he's what they thought Adam Troutman was, but he was like way fucking better at it.
But here's the crazy thing to me. You could have had Trey McBride, but you can still have Adam Troutman. Like one or the other. It doesn't have to be either or. Tight end, like they could all get on the field. You can come up with packages. You can, Troutman. You can do all kind of stuff. You got 7-man lines. You can do all kind of stuff with multiple tight ends. You know what I'm saying? We had We had Jimmy Graham. We had Dave Thomas. We had Josh Hill. We had so many players, so many tight ends. Like, what is this? Oh, you would have had to cut like Jawan Johnson. Like, like that's fine,
It's this man over here making Instagram videos about his wife shaving his nuts.
Oh man,
Jawan Johnson, bro.
Oh my
god, I'll send it to you after the pod, bro. He making there was a YouTube, I think it was like Instagram or whatever, but like it was like his wife was like, when your wife shaves your nuts for the first time or something like that. I'm just like, what are we doing? Like I get
Kitty's still starting that shit. This dude popping them shrooms. Like, bro.
Sir, I just sent it to you. So if you could give, and so I an activity I want to do later, not right now, but maybe in a couple of weeks, we just recap the entire offseason, like from the DA hire to like everything, and then kind of put a final grade on it of the Saints offseason, and just put a bow on it. But gotta talk about the news that came out today that Adam Schefter tweeted about, something that, Nick Underhill's been hinting at, is the renewed interest because they didn't draft a safety in the draft. Although they, everyone liking them some Smoke Monday, bro. And I watched a little bit of Smoke and I was like, oh, okay.
I just started looking at a little bit of him. I was like, why is everybody talking about this Smoke raps? Like, hey, everybody like Smoke. And I'm like, okay, they do it. Like, bro, one thing, they do like those attitude dudes, bro.
Absolutely.
Like dudes with like them FU attitudes. They love it.
It's why I honestly thought, and I'm kind of like, I don't know how I would have felt if I probably would have preferred it if they would have just went Lewisine at 19, bro. Because he just, man, I watched him one game and I'm like, that's a Jeff Ireland safety, bro. Like, he just had that attitude, just a liquor, bro. And maybe they went offensive tackle in 49, but I digress. But getting back to the renewed interest, they didn't draft a safety in Tyrann Mathieu. What are your thoughts and potentially, and again, there's potential, right? He's not signed yet, but hypothetically, if he is signed within the next couple of days, how does that change your impression of the defense?
I guess it doesn't change it too much, but I do feel I feel that bringing him in and with the guy Taylor Mays, not Taylor Mays, home trippers.
Ooh, hopefully not Taylor Mays. Marcus May.
Marcus May. Where did Taylor Mays come from?
Taylor Mays came from,
That's
bro.
a throwback, man. That's USC Pete Carroll days. Like, you know what I'm saying? But the defense is going to be different, man. It's not going to. You're not going to have that stupid rangy Marcus Williams back there to keep everybody safe. So I think they are going to have to get pretty creative because bro, they're going to have a lot of safeties, man. Like you bring in Tyrann Mathieu, you bring Honey Badger, so that means you got Marcus May, Honey Badger,
PJ
Williams, Daniel Sorensen, the injured dude from Tampa with Justin Evans or whatever.
Yes. Yeah, Justin Evans. I don't know. I always want to call him Jordan Evans for him, but yes.
And you got Alante Taylor, which is a cornerback. We feel like he's kind of slash safety in that mix. So that's a lot of DBs. That's not even including your official cornerbacks. So you got a lot of DBs. So I think, you're going to see some interesting things on defense, some cover 4, cover 3, cover 2, a lot of mixing it up. A lot of, I could see them. If it was me, I would let Tyrann Mathieu just kind of roam and be kind of like a thief in the night, because he's kind of known for that. He kind of, people, he kind of takes off. I wouldn't say take off, but he kind of just does his own thing a little bit. And I would lean into that. I would be like, look, bro, I want you to just kind of, we're going to protect you here, and there. Here's just one responsibility. Here's two. You go and be that playmaker you can do. So if that's the case, I'm also interested, where's this information coming from? Because Adam Schefter tweeted it. So I wonder if, Tyrann Mathieu's agent and the Saints kind of already have something, like the framework of a deal worked out. Right. They probably still got to, fine-tune some details, guaranteed money, injury, and all that shit. But the framework was already there because when it was reported that he visited with the Saints, it was confirmed. Everybody reported that this isn't to sign a deal. Everybody was all the people reported, make sure this is not an imminent deal, but this is just kind of a team trying to get to know each other and this and that. I'm like, why are these people saying this? You know what I'm saying? It's weird to me. I never heard that type of stuff. They're just trying to get to know each other and da-da-da-da. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, right. So that tells me that, they kind of got something, some kind of framework worked out, which is, look, I like Tyrann Mathieu. I loved him at LSU. I loved him as a player. He's getting a little older now, so I don't know, people, I know a lot of old LSU fans, they're excited about it. What can he bring to the table? I don't know. But just bringing him in, I think would be a good addition to the defense.
Yes, I agree with that.
You know what I'm saying? It'll be a good addition. And I think we're gonna see a different defense, bro. It's gonna be a little different. It could be really good. It could be a really good defense if everybody's healthy, and if Peyton Turner kind of hits that kind of mark where he doesn't have to be elite.
Nope.
Say he's just like a good contributing pass rushing / run defender, and say did 2 firsts. Continues what he was doing, towards the end of last year where he was just killing it. He's healthy, comes back healthy, and he does his thing. Cam Jordan was on a tear towards the end of last year. Hopefully he doesn't drop off much. You got Onyemata. They signed a few defensive tackles.
Contavious Street,
stuff like that. You got some linebackers, Pete Werner, maybe he takes a step forward. He was already pretty good. I'm still like Quan, man.
Bring him back,
bro. Man.
He visited with the Jets. Come on back, Quan. Shit. Come on back.
He ain't signed nobody, man. Just go ahead and throw him a couple millions, man. Throw him 2, 3, 4 million or something, if you go, that's my thing, bro. All about the vision for me, bro. If you want to be a defensive-led team, then do it, man. Go be a great defense.
Right.
Will it get you to the Super Bowl? No, it won't. But, go be a great defense. And I think they feel like they just got enough offense. I don't agree. Mickey Loomis said, like in his presser, that they still have musts on their board. As far as when they look at the whole team, they have their stickers up and there's holes. There's gaps when they look on the board where they should have players, and there's some are musts, some are needs. He said they still have some musts there. I assume one of those was safety.
Yes.
Damn, I'm hoping one of them is like a running back or something, man. Like, damn.
It's funny you say that because I was going to segue and ask you if they sign Matthew, does that I would assume that means that Jarvis Landry isn't coming. And I think, them drafting Olave potentially put a kibosh on Jarvis Landry coming as well.
You think so? Yeah, I kind of think so too.
I think it's going to be I think it's one or the other. And then because safety is such a huge need and they haven't really addressed it, they didn't address it in the draft. I just get the sense that it'll be Matthew. But it's interesting to trying to figure out like what is that other, must, because I can't think of anything. Like what is it?
Like I said, I assume safety, but the way they approach this offseason, I mean,
I would hope it would be right guard, but
I'd love to be right guard. I'd love it to be RB2. But I mean, they just haven't attacked it like that. We'll see, because this week, I think this is when players aren't accounted to the compensatory picks.
That's right. That's right.
I think you're going to start seeing a lot of veterans that's been sitting out there start getting signed. So we'll see. I don't know where we at cap wise. I have no idea.
No clue, bro.
But I think we got enough to make a move or two. So I would love Landry to get signed though, because that would just kind of flesh everything out. You have like Jarvis Landry could kind of be. He's kind of similar to Michael Thomas. I mean, he's not as good as Michael Thomas when Michael Thomas is, back to himself, but it kind of gives you like another that type of possession wide receiver,
right?
Who could get you that yak and all that stuff. So that give you him and Michael Thomas. You get back. You got Chris Olave, Dante Hardy, who can get downfield and all that stuff. And then man, Callaway, shit. How you live at that?
I mean,
how you live, boy.
Then you have an offense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like
you have an offense like Callaway.
You remember those days? You remember those days where like 11 different receivers have caught the ball from Drew Brees in this game or something like that. It was just crazy stuff because it was just pick your poison. Who do we defend and all that? It's like they just forgot about those days, man.
They really did, man. And hopefully, even though they drafted Chris Olave, it won't stop them from adding some pieces, man. Like I feel like Olave was the start, but it shouldn't have been just the finish. And I wouldn't be surprised just knowing this team if it was like, all right, got him, moving right along. Moving right along. Before we get out of here, let's do some quick hitters just around the NFL. No, that's trademark. But just talking about the drafts of some teams in the league other than the Saints that just really caught your eye. Any team just that really just kind of caught your eye in terms of the draft?
I like what the Jets did.
Yes.
The Jets, it's such a bad organization. You never know how it's going to turn out. And Zach Wilson still, like, man, he got a lot to show. But I did like that they went and they got him, Garrett Wilson, who should be good for them. They went and got Breece Hall in the second round to give them a good running game. And, they already, I think they drafted a running back last year, too, who was pretty good.
Michael Carter.
Yeah, yes. Michael Carter, yeah. So, look, giving your young boy weapons. They already got Elijah Moore,
Corey Davis.
Like you got something going here.
Garrett Wilson, Braxton Berrios. Just just like we said earlier, man, they've given their quarterback every reason to succeed, not a reason to fail.
Exactly. So I like what they did there. And they got Jermaine Johnson like late in the first round. They hadn't had a pass rusher in like my lifetime.
Can I just say that it was extremely, extremely soft? And maybe this is the whole Peyton Turner effect, but what we talked about how great this draft was at edge rushers and how last year's wasn't, and the fact that they drafted Peyton Turner. And if you just put on Peyton Turner's film compared to Jermaine Johnson's film,
it's not a comparison.
Not a comparison, bro. And I was saying that like I didn't understand the Jermaine Johnson going top 10 hype because that was like very rich for me. But the fact that he was there at 19 and the Saints didn't draft him is surprising a little bit. But again, that's the whole Peyton Turner sunken fallacy thing.
Exactly. To where if they didn't take him last year, you know, they would have had a chance to draft him this year in a much better DE class.
Much better DE class, bro.
But yeah, we'll see. You know,
I think the Ravens had an absolute insanely fucking good draft, bro. It's sickening. They drafted like top of my head, I maybe forget. They drafted Kyle Hamilton, and then they got the 23rd pick from from the Cardinals. From the Cardinals. Got their center of the future, Tyler Littenbaum. In the second round, they drafted David Ajobo, who tore his ACL, was going to be a top 15 pick had he not injured himself at his pro day. And they drafted two tight ends, I believe, even though they have one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Like, this is how you do it. How you do it. Like,
but to be fair, if we were like Ravens Twitter pod, we'd be Pittsburgh. Lamar.
No weapons, bro.
Running his ass off, bro. He's gonna be looking like that Popeyes lady, bro.
No,
Lord.
They said, you want that $40 million contract, nigga? You about to earn it.
Better run, boy.
Can I talk about a draft I hated on a lot of levels, and I just want to ask, what are the Bears doing with Justin Fields?
Bruh, just terrible.
What are they doing with Justin Fields? Like, their draft in terms of getting him help or not, absolutely fucking criminal. Absolutely criminal. I get they didn't have a first round pick. I get it. Noted, right? But they easily now have one of the worst wide receiving groups in football. They got Daryl Mooney, and that's like about it. Wow. And like nothing else. A shit offensive line. They're just bad, man. Just a bad, and they have a defensive head coach.
I mean, imagine being Justin Fields though. Like, he had a better offense in college, bro.
Bruh.
Like his players he had are in the NFL.
He really fucking did, man.
He had a better offense in college, man. He come to the NFL and play with worse players. Like, man, you know, and that just sucks because they got a new coaching staff, and you know, so they wasted a year keeping Matt Nagy. So now you got to learn a new offense, and it's not going to be as good, and he's going to be in year 3, and everybody's like, "Oh, Justin Fields, we still don't know what he is," and all that. It's just like, man, I just hate when teams fail a player. Like, if a player fails, it's like, okay,
right.
Like, when teams fail a player, and you never really know what they are, what they could be. That's just the worst.
Worst, man. It is. Any other teams draft caught your eye or anything that you can remember?
Not really. Like I look at the Falcons, I feel like Terry's doing a great job. Great job, Terry.
Keep it up, buddy.
Keep it up, Terry.
I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Malik Willis being a third round pick.
Yeah. Like, what are your thoughts on the whole quarterback thing? Like, that was crazy.
I think that I mean, obviously the NFL told us what they thought of Malik Willis as a prospect. Like that was very obvious and very evident. I just think it may be just one of those things where the NFL just overthought it, and we'll see, right? I think the fact that he was able to go to Tennessee, even though they don't have AJ Brown anymore, it could be a good thing for him because again, he doesn't have to be the guy in Tennessee. He can wait, he can sit behind Tannehill a season. I don't want maybe 10. I think Tannehill can get through a season, but we'll see. But when he's ready, he could come to a team that has a pretty decent offensive line. Although he's getting older and he's getting a lot of wear and tear on his body, you still have one of the best running backs in the league. You don't have AJ Brown anymore, which sucks, but you do have Robert Woods once he gets healthy, who is like the quarterback's best friend. And you have Treylon Burks, which I think in terms of how the way Malik plays, it kind of suits him better. But for him to go where he went in the third round and he was a third quarterback taken, Desmond Ritter before him to the Falcons. I don't know, man. Like, we heard how down the NFL was on this quarterback class, and they obviously showed it to us with their actions of what they thought about it. But I'll say this, and I could be very wrong, and it's not the first time I'll be wrong about a prospect. And it's not just the Saints, right? It's the Saints. I can't just say if the Saints passing on Malik at 19 and 49 or 42 or whatever pick it was in the second round, that it's going to come back to bite them if he hits and if he's great. Man, 31 teams passed on him. Like the Vikings passed on Malik like 6 times, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is telling. So if he hits and he becomes good, like good to great, it just goes back to what we've said often on this podcast about the draft process. It's humans picking humans. And sometimes even 32 humans making the same decision could be completely fucking wrong. But I'm gonna obviously interested to see how his career turns out. Desmond Ritter going to the Falcons. Cool. Like that's just like I get it. I'm a Saints fan, but like I saw Desmond Ritter going against Bama in the championship game, and just imagine him going against the Saints defense. Ooh, I don't know.
I don't see it with those weapons.
You got Drake London.
Yeah, I know they got Drake London. They got Kyle
Pitts, and you got Cordero, but that's really where it fucking stops. Like that's it.
And I saw a lot of people compared Ritter to Mariota, so I found that interesting. And it's like, man, I don't know, man. Like,
I don't know if I see that, but
yeah, I don't know. That to me, we'll see. And Carolina, they drafted Matt Corral later.
Yep.
I think Sam Darnold going to give him a chance to play. At some point, I don't know when, but Matt Corral is going to play.
Yes.
Sam Howell, where did he go?
Commanders.
Oh, nah. Oh. Well, we'll see how that goes. Don't
worry, bro. Carson Wentz going to give him a chance as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But it's just weird that it just made me wonder, like, because a lot of the inside, Daniel Jeremiah and
Carson Strong. Carson Strong went undrafted, by the way.
Yeah, he went UDFA.
Yep.
Which I did think he'd go late, but
for him not to get drafted at all,
like damn. But what kind of perplexed me was like Daniel Jeremiah, Tony Pauline, all these insider guys. They do talk to teams, and so just about everybody figured. At least 2 would go in the top 2 round. In the first round.
Right.
And a couple would go in the second. So for them to drop like that, it's like, what really happened there?
It was perplexing, man. It was perplexing.
'Cause it was historical. Like I don't even think that's ever happened. I mean, I think 2013 was the only season where one went in the first round.
Right.
But for them to just like drop like they did into the third, fourth round, it's like I've never seen that. I've never seen that. So I don't know what a miscommunication was. I don't know if like teams thought other teams had higher grades on the players, and then it came to be that none of the teams had really high grades on them.
Right.
I don't know.
It was weird. It was definitely weird to see. Really quickly, before we get out of here, just want to touch on excuse me. I think that's pretty much it. It's interesting though that both the Panthers and the Falcons drafted quarterbacks and the Saints didn't. Which again shows you, where they are in terms of thinking about Jameis and it's his team, man. It's his team, and he has to show and take it by the reins and be the guy, because it's all on him. He has 2 years to prove it, and then after that it gets very, very murky. But all that said, I feel like we've kind of been through the draft process from the very beginning, starting with the Senior Bowl to the very end, being in Vegas for the draft, and it was dope, very dope. It was an experience. It was fun, tiring, grinding at times, but an experience I thoroughly enjoyed. It's like I tweeted a couple of days ago. I know the Saints will have a first round pick, so we might not do a live stream next year. We might, but being in Nashville may be fun. But I do have another challenge for our listeners. So right now we're about at 105 Patreon patrons currently. I want to see, we average close, per episode. It just depends, but maybe like 1,600 has been kind of our standard average. I want to see if we can get to 200 Patreons before the start of the season. So we need about 95 more people to become a Patreon. That's kind of our next watermark, to see if we can get to 200 people to be Patreons. And then this upcoming week, I will do a raffle or a drawing that all the current Patreons right now, whoever names gets drawn, you're going to get a hashtag Saints Twitter Tumblr. And we're also going to get a hashtag Saints Twitter Tumblr out to Brian. So thank you again, Brian. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Elise. Much appreciated. We truly appreciate you guys just going that extra mile and supporting us. You really have no idea. But before we get out, anything else you can think of?
No, man. I just wanted to, just shout out to everybody that watched the stream. It was close to 1,000 views on the YouTube stream. Not to mention the live stream of our Patreons that were able to zoom in and be a part of it. Like, that was fire, bro. Like,
fire, man.
So when we talk about the Patreon, you got to understand, like, that helps us do this. That helps us be a part of like the Senior Bowl, and we regular dudes that have jobs, 9-to-5 jobs like everybody else. So that helps us like be a part of the process. Teams aren't paying us, big media companies aren't paying us.
Nope.
So we really do appreciate any contribution that comes to us, because and I want to make this podcast like huge. Like, I'm already thinking about like rebranding and changing the name. Ooh, and like just making this thing like a huge platform for, video, audio, something that everybody can be a part of, and just like really be like the main spot for Saints.
Yep.
Saints fans,
Well, I think what ideally in a perfect world we would want to take what I guess Saints Report has built for the number of years in terms of being like the main place for, like a forum for Saints fans, but like doing that like on a social media type of scale, and also hopefully not as homerific as fucking Saints Report is.
It won't.
God, damn, I can't fucking stand that. But like that's our goal, right? Is to, and I think going back to the Zoom live stream, and I'd be remiss if I didn't give out credit to that idea for Elise, because she was the one that kind of suggested it. She was the one who suggested it to me first. It wasn't I enjoyed it because, obviously our name of our podcast might change in terms of it not no longer being hashtag Saints Report podcast at some point, but like we are all fans. Like we do this podcast. The premise is just us being two fans of the Saints talking about football. That's it. Like we don't cover the team professionally or anything like that. We just give our opinions as fans who have watched this team for so many years that, we kind of know their trends and things. And that's all we do. So for us to include everyone on the Zoom was just special. It was enjoyable. Nat, if you next time we meet in person, you owe us a drink because broke some rules. Although maybe Nat wasn't in it at the beginning, so maybe he didn't catch it, but he still owe some fucking drinks.
You got me. Now you're gonna give me a drink, man.
Yeah, for sure. But we're all a community, and we want to make this an inclusive.
It was just fun, man. At least
it was that.
Elise sitting there, she trying to watch the Pels game and do the live stream.
As soon as the Pels game ended, bro, she came out the Pels shirt.
They jersey on, but she was hot.
It was also Elise's first time using Zoom for the first time, so she just talking and was just on mute, didn't know how to unmute. It was a good time, man. It was cool, and that's the thing, man. Like if you're not a Patreon, like I don't mean to like hype up FOMO, but like you miss out on shit. Like our Discord. Sometimes I enjoy going to our Discord more than I just enjoy being on Twitter sometimes. Honestly. Hell yeah, man. So our Discord, things like that we do. Like so. Anyway, stop this rambling to say. So we're at 105 Patreons right now. Our goal before the start of the season is to get to 95 Patreon or 95 more Patreons, so 200 total, 200 Patreons total. And the schedule comes out in 2 weeks. The international games will be announced on Tuesday, I believe. So then when they're announced, I can book. We as a family, we're going to book our overseas trip and the Saints game. And like just think about this, man. Like London game. Myself, Daniel, David may all be hanging out. They live overseas, bro. Like it's just at the end of the day, we're all Saints family, right? And so that's why we do this. But anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling, get out of here. We appreciate y'all. We appreciate y'all sticking with us during draft season. I understand there's gonna be kind of a lull because besides rookie mini camps and all that, ain't nothing. And then there's going to be mini camp, like nothing's going it's going to be a dead period. So we got some things in mind to kind of bridge the gap in terms of making sure there's nothing going on that we're not talking about. But we appreciate y'all. Thank you very much. We're going to get out of here. We got that. We're out.
Peace.
You've got questions? O'Reilly Auto Parts has answers. Need a pro you can trust? We've got that too. No matter what you need, our professional parts people have the training and expertise to help you do things right. Deep automotive knowledge. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.